Welcome to Arby's Kitchen Talk. Today's topic is Men Like Me. And I am excited to have these handsome men on the program to talk to us about what it's like being a man. And I'm hoping that after tonight's discussion that we'll be able to dispel some of the myths that some people have about men. So we're going to delve into that. And it's good that we've got a range. We've got a range of ages. And that's actually very good because we'll be getting a number of different perspectives. Some of the men are married and some aren't. Others have children. And so this is going to be a really, really exciting discussion tonight. So I want to jump right into it. I think we're waiting on one other participant. He's going to join us shortly. So let's get started. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Should we have prayer first?
We can.
Okay. I think we're going to be cool. All right. But we could do a little prayer. All right. If anybody's afraid. Father, we pray that you would bless this session. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. How's that?
Amen.
All right. So we're going to start off with this. Again, the topic is men like me. So, there are all kinds of men, different backgrounds, cultures, traditions, and so forth. But, I do think there are some commonalities. And I actually think that there are some commonalities even between men and women, although there's such a focus on the difference, right? Right. Okay. So let's start with personal creed. What is your personal creed? What is your statement of belief about who you are? What you believe in. Who wants to start?
That's kind
I'll
of
start.
wrong, isn't it?
I'll start, Rhonda. I think my personal creed is to live life to the fullest and truly to live and seek God's, guidance and direction to be all that He wants me to be, in the lifetime. And I think ultimately how to be a helper to others who might be in need, and not just to be self-centered, but to be community-oriented and to give and to make a difference.
Oh, awesome. All right, that wasn't difficult, was it?
No, that wasn't.
Yeah. All right, anyone? Come on, just jump right in.
All right. Well, basically, my creed, I like to be similar to him. I'm a community guy. My first part, the most important part, is being a father. And being honorable. Being and teaching my kids to be honorable, because I don't think there's a lot of it out there. And just being diligent in everything that my family is into and my wife is into. Just make sure I'm there.
Right. Being supportive.
Yes, supportive. Yeah, right.
Excellent. Sounds good. Come on. Anyone else?
You think
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're welcome.
All right. I'm Drake, and I guess my creed would be to love God. Love God first with all my heart, mind, and soul. And then I'm a believer, so that's my identity first. A child of God, and then a second commandment. Second most important commandment is to love others. So that's what I really think is important in life, is to love others. Respect and show love. I'm a family man, so I'm married, have four children. So, I believe in definitely spending quality time with them as much as I can, and just lead by example.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. Rodney, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about creeds, I think what's most important that comes to mind is being a man of integrity. Being a man of integrity and being spiritual. My upbringing, my entire life, has been surrounded around church and religion, and spirituality is the most, I think, it's important. Okay, it's important, especially as being a man. It has to be. It's a loss. Something got lost. Okay, when I look at men. So if I'm talking about a creed, it has to be integrity. Being a man of integrity, which encompasses, a lot of everything that has already been stated. God, family, children, wife, not necessarily in that order, but God definitely number one. So with that being stated, in everything that you do, because people are looking at you, people are watching you, whether you don't believe it or not, they're watching you. So your integrity in that is when you're in front of people and when you're not around people. So what you do outside, has to be exemplary, and show people, what you're really about. So your integrity. So that encompasses, everything.
Excellent, excellent. Any one of our young single men, what would your personal creed be?
I'll go.
Okay, excellent.
I would say a good creed is self-belief. And what I mean by that is whether you're single, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, as a man, if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything. You can make anything happen with very little, and you can be resourceful. So I would say that's definitely one thing that, I try to hold to myself.
That's good. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how's it possible for you to be supportive of anyone else's dream? Good. I like that. I like that. Let's move on then. Let's move on to this. Finish this sentence for me. When God created man, he created what? I'm going to substitute man and add me. When God created me, what did he create, Alex?
Well, I think when God created me, he created a helper. I think, or even better, like I know I go by Alex, my middle name, but for example, my first name is Olua Koinsola. I'm Nigerian. It's of Nigerian descent, and my name means God added sweetness to the wealth. So even better way I would put it, when God created me, he created a sweetness, a helper, and added that fruitfulness to life. That's how I view myself. I feel like I try to be as much a blessing to my family and my friends as much as I can. So that's what I would say.
That's awesome. That's awesome because today's time, men, boys are given so many types of names, right? And sometimes it's very difficult to even identify who you are when you don't even know what your name means, or if your name means something that is completely different from what you want to be. So name means everything. What about you, Matt? When God created you, what did he create? Matt. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear everything. But
Yes.
Yeah, you can hear.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question because it was going?
Yes. So when God created you, what did he create?
When God created me, he created someone who is a giver of time. He created someone who should wait for the generation.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
I'll hop in from my brother.
Go ahead.
I'll say this. Well, from what I know about Matthew, I believe God created someone who's extremely passionate about the world and sees himself in a way that can add to it in a positive light. He's very, very strong. He created someone that's extremely strong, someone that has a heart in terms of mentoring young people. So that's what I would say. And Matthew, when God created Matt, he created a poet, someone who is extremely expressive and sees the world in a very unique light, and someone who has taken pain and has been able to turn it into triumph. So I'll add that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's interesting how you are able to take something that's very little and make something out of it.
Mhm.
And I wasn't quite sure the direction that I wanted to take tonight,
Mhm.
but let's talk about that. How is it that men are able to create something? Why do you think men are able to create something out of nothing at times? What is it that's in you that enables you to do that, to develop, to create, to innovate? What is it? What
I,
characteristics, what traits do you possess that allow you to do that?
it's
I think
the
it's
God.
creativity. You know,
What is it?
I think it's
the
creativity.
God.
You know, if we're made in the image of God, since God is a creator, I think He made us creators. You know, He made us,
Okay.
you know, with imaginations and ambitions, and you know, so that's why I think that men have those attributes. You know, because God had it first.
And I believe that you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the same vein that I was going down. He's instilled. I mean, any man has to feel that. Every man has to feel as though that it's been put in men, I believe, to be able to conquer. Okay, to be able to triumph, whether it's small or large. You know, and it's based on, you know, your own personal circumstances. As Diamond was talking about his ability to, you know, create something from nothing, and that's what it is. It's innate in, I believe, in men, that God has given us that ability to envision, to see things, specifically how we want to do a specific thing. And in men's minds, I believe it just works that way.
Right.
We see things, we see the world differently than I believe our counterparts do.
How so? How do you see? All right, let's talk about that. I mean, how do men see the world differently than women?
Can I add to that?
Sure.
I was going to say, and I'm not going to say that women don't possess this, but I do think men are very much problem solvers. We are a little bit more logical in terms of, if there's an issue, we want to fix it. We're fixers.
Right.
If there is any sort of gap or any sort of lacking, that's our mind is, all right, I see a problem, I need to fix it. And
There's no emotion.
yeah,
Right.
like yeah, we want to get we really want to go after solving the problem. We're solution based in that. So
We
I'll add that.
eliminate all of the fluff. We eliminate all the distractions, and we see what the issue is, and this is what it is. And sometimes, you know, we get sidetracked by all the other stuff.
Yeah, but is it possible that you could potentially be missing something by being so direct, so rational? Maybe there's some intricacies that you're missing as the result of being so direct and being the problem solver. I mean, is
Well,
that possible?
I think with that, and I understand what you're saying, and I people ask me a lot of times why I'm so slow about doing things. You know, why don't you just go and get it done? Get it done. It's because I'm methodical. I want to see all of the angles.
Mhm.
I want to see, you know, what problems there may be, not just the solution. I already see that. I know that I need to fix it, but I have to look at all the other variables. I don't know if all men think that way, but I know one thing that we do have in common: we like to remove all of the fluff and go, This is what the problem is. Now let's address what the problem is."
Okay. All right. Give me an example, Al. Give me an example of that, or Drake, or Alex. Give me an example of how you remove all the fluff and get right to the problem.
How you want to flush and get right to
You know,
I could,
it.
I think.
I think
yeah. Go ahead.
it'll be like, all right, say I know everybody either married or single or in a relationship, you've dated somebody. Say your girlfriend comes up to you with a problem. The first instinct I have is like, yo, babe, why don't you see this? All you have to do is X, Y, and Z to solve this.
Uh-huh.
But on her end, there's that matter of fact of the emotional part being the emotionally there to understand like maybe she's not looking for you to solve the problem, but she just wants an ear for you to listen to the problem. But I think that's like a perfect ideal example where you're just like,
Yes.
bro, you can just do this. I don't know why you're going through like it can be solved, but like that I think is like the number one example of how men just are like, boom, like
I agree.
get it done. I don't know, like
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit it. You nailed it right there. Because sometimes women don't want that. They just want you to hear how they're feeling,
Right.
right? And so when you make light of how they're feeling, what happens?
Attitude, upset.
Bro, you gotta tell somebody if they don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
It's
Because
over.
go ahead.
problem
Go ahead.
you become the problem.
yes, that's the problem.
Can't win.
Because women are problem solvers too.
Yeah.
You know, we've solved multiple problems at the same time. So normally when we're going off like that, we just want someone to hear us.
Right.
But I like that. I get it. So that's a major difference. Okay, so let's move on to what then should every Eve know about you? If you are a problem solver and some of the other traits that maybe you haven't mentioned, how should an Eve come to you? How should she support the man that you are?
I think it's about framing the question or framing the reply that you're looking for. Okay. I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. If you're coming asking about a problem, then you're looking for a solution to it, not to be heard. So it's about how you frame it, because if you don't frame it properly, then we don't understand how we're not in your brain. We don't know these things.
Okay.
We hear the problem.
And it sounds like a
I
question.
want you to hear what I have to say.
Okay. Okay. So the woman has to learn how to frame the question.
Right. Say like, would you listen to me for a moment? You know, I want to bounce this off of you. You know, something like that. No,
That's
because
logical.
my day, as Alex was saying, you know, and because just like he said, can't you see what the issue is? This is what the solution is.
Okay.
But if you're not hearing that, we're giving you the solution, but you don't want to hear the solution. We don't know that until after the fact. Now it's too late. Now you mad.
Okay.
I got something else to add to that.
Okay.
I think another thing is that many times if an Eve is coming to us with a problem, many times they don't understand that it is okay to agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Many times they want us to see how and feel how they feel about a certain problem, when how we can't own their feelings. Like, we're coming at things with a completely different perspective, completely different experiences. Now we can acknowledge how they feel. Now, if we've done something wrong, we can say, I apologize. But if we have a completely different outlook on things, sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree on certain things. We don't have to be aligned. And how you, like, if you say, you know, for instance, well, this upset me because based on this experience, I've gone through this and I don't like that. Well, I've gone through a completely different experience and maybe I can't relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can acknowledge that, all right, I see how you see the world, but that's just not how I see it. But we can still come together and say, if this is bothering you, I can change my behavior.
Okay.
So I think that's also what I was saying, is that many times I think for us, we're more about like kind of like changing our behavior. When we look at like a problem, we just, all right, let's just fix it. Whereas, you know, sometimes it's like, well, I also want you to see how I see it, and I want you to feel how I feel. We can't do that. That's impossible.
Okay. Does everyone agree with that?
Yes, I do.
To a large degree, I follow what he's saying because you hit a nail on the head, man, because it's very difficult. I've been married over 30 years and I haven't figured it out yet.
I also have a problem getting your
It's
thoughts.
you can say something or you can act a certain way like you don't care or anything like that and it's a trigger. And it's like,
Right.
what do I do?
Got it. Go ahead, Al.
I was saying what Mike was saying, the similar side. I also realized that a lot of conversations with women, they like to give men their emotions in conversations.
Okay.
Like if they don't
Okay.
truly understand it, they like to give what you're saying their emotions for they can understand it instead of just trying to understand similar.
Okay, I like that. So, all right, so now that goes right to this next question that I have then. Do men have emotions?
Yes,
Yeah,
we just use a different
absolutely.
spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, Drake, I see you smiling. Tell me about this. Where are they? Because everything that I've been hearing now is just direct, logical, rational. The woman's all upset and getting angry. Don't know why. Do men get emotional?
I think that's
I
an
want to
emotional
ask
response.
everyone. Go ahead.
I think when the being rational and being calm is like an emotional response as a man in a family, I would say so, because I feel as though you're trying to calm yourself where you can manage the emotions around you. You know what I mean? So
Interesting.
And that I couldn't have said it better.
Right.
I couldn't have said it better. That is you're absolutely correct because there is men are looked to solve problems.
Right.
And sometimes we're bombarded from every side.
yes.
And we have to be able to hone in our emotions, not just, let everything go. Because if that's the case, as our brother Al said, man, we'll have chaos.
Yes.
It
Okay.
would be chaos. Everybody, I mean, it would just be total, it would be a mess.
It would be a mess.
Right.
All right, Philip, do you agree with this?
Rhonda, I agree. I think one time it was stated that men had three emotions: that's bitter, angry, and more angry. But I think there are some more emotions that we have. But sometimes because of the leadership roles that we're placed in, we try to put those long range of emotions, to the side so we can deal with the issues at hand and get the job done. But certainly, I think that we are we have emotions. I think the last couple of years have taught and trained men to think about their feelings and their emotions, and so to show compassion, to show interest, to be active listeners, and to engage. Um, Something that we can do, but may not do readily,
Hmm.
but we do possess it.
So let's talk about this active listening. What does that mean? What is an active listener from a man's perspective?
I think from a man's perspective, it's actually it's listening with your eyes and ears opening, um, not sitting in a chair with your arms crossed, and potentially discounting what a person is saying, particularly from the opposite sex, but really having your whole body engaged in the conversation, asking pointed questions. Um, did I hear you to say that you think we should do this? As opposed to just saying, I heard this and just start doing it automatically. Test,
Okay.
test for understanding.
Yeah.
I
Listening to
Here.
understand
this
rather than
reminds.
respond.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Nah, active listening, I guess, listening to understand rather than respond.
Right.
But I think, as we've all kind of mentioned, we tend to listen and we give a response first.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
mm.
but yeah. So, yeah.
Drake? Yeah, I get it. Drake, you were going to say something?
When this reminds me of this commercial I saw a while ago, where the family's at the dinner table, and the husband asked the wife, "How was your day?" and then a game show host pops out of nowhere and says, "All right, you can win $1 million, husband. You can pay attention for more than 5 seconds as your wife tells you about her day." So, and as she starts talking, the guy is struggling to be an active listener. So but I often think of that because I'm guilty of it too. I'll ask my wife, "How's your day?" And as soon as she starts talking, my mind would start thinking about something else. And so,
Well, at least you're being honest about it. You can't get upset with that at all. So, is communication? Would you say that communication is your greatest strength, Diamond?
No, I suck at communicating, and I think from being in this relationship right here, it's taught me that I have to improve that. Like expressing, your emotions and how you're feeling and everything, especially, with your partner, instead of just exploding or just walking away even. Sometimes not even talking. I won't even engage, like whatever. We'll handle this later. So I definitely say communication is tough. Sure.
It's tough.
It's very tough. It takes a lot because you have to hone in on to what they're talking about first and foremost. I don't know what happened at your job, but you just come in and just start emptying.
Yeah.
You just turn the faucet on and it's like, okay. So I guess, part of that is, as Phil said, and others, I think we just have to, give them the nod. Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue as to what you're saying.
Right. Okay, so go ahead, Al.
I also think that the way we talk and what we complain about is so different. Like I can go to work and have the same exact thing happen to me, and I can come home and brush it off. When I clock out, I couldn't care less. You know what I'm saying? So then my wife come home, we got the same exact situation. It would bother her more. So I think she'll talk more about it. So I think when you can go through the same situation at work, and every day, like as a man, I can come home and not talk about it because it's not important to the day to me. And they can't. I think sometimes you tone it out because it seems like you have already deemed it in your life as it not being important enough to complain about. So when you start hearing someone else complain about something equal to yours or less and sometimes I think it makes you shut off. It's almost like a kid complaining about, not kind of equated to, but I'm trying to make an example. A kid complaining about an argument at school. I mean, when you was a teenager, you're like, "Oh, that's small." You know what I'm saying? So I think I try to fix the problem for we won't have to deal with small problems like that again. So I think that becomes the problem.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Because women, we are different, and women are always going to see things differently. And sometimes I wonder to what extent each person has to make that effort, in order to make it work. And Diamond, you're absolutely right. Sometimes I said earlier that our culture, tradition, expectations, our upbringing, it all impacts how we approach a relationship or how we approach work or whatever it is. Luke, thanks for joining us. Hey. So, it's like we're different, but now we're alike also. Because if you're telling me that you have feelings, right, then that's a good thing, because a woman has feelings too. Mm-hmm. So we're different, but we're not so different. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yes,
definitely.
Okay. Can I add to that?
Yes.
Because that, when you're talking, because it sounds to me, like the topic on tonight is really honing in on emotional intelligence, or intellectual intelligence. And a lot of what we're saying is it's a lot of it is based on, I believe, on your rearing and how you're brought up.
Right.
Because that really, it hones in on how you respond. Mm-hmm. If you were brought up in not communicating, then that's going to be you. That's who you are.
Mhm.
We brought up, discussing every aspect, and different points of views and everything, then that's who you are. So it's a it's kind of difficult to you're asking the question about are men, emotional? Can we show emotion? Yeah, we can show emotion,
Mhm.
but it's different based on how we were raised, and nurtured in that aspect.
Well, women the same way. Women have a background, experiences, upbringings as well, and that also affects how they relate in a relationship, on the job, or wherever. So, I mean, the same would apply to a woman, right? But there are distinct differences in terms of how we come into relationship and how we just deal with matters in general. And that's because of the way we've been built, the way we've been created. And that's why the first question was, or the second question was, how did God create you? Because there's so many different influences. It's not just your upbringing, although I think that's huge, but there's so many things that go into how we've evolved.
I got a question.
So now I got to ask this question. I've got to ask this one. Here's a myth. The myth is that men are strong and brave, but emotionally quite youthful.
We'll call them the
The
childish.
last part again.
You call them the childish?
So the myth, here's the myth. So I want to know if this is a myth or if it's a fact, okay? So we're talking about men. Is this a myth or is it a fact that men are the epitome of bravery, strength, the go-to, but emotionally quite youthful?
I actually think that's wrong.
Yeah,
I actually think would you think that men are childish emotionally? I just think we get over things a lot quicker. We don't hold on to nonsense for a long time, but we could bring it up later. In stories. So
I like that.
I don't think that. I think we'll forget an argument way faster than a woman would. I forget it that night if I could.
Okay. Okay, that's good. I like that.
I agree. We internalize things. As I think I was saying, whatever happened at the job, when I leave that job, I turn it off. And I think men deal with a lot of external things that way, because one thing that I think that women don't understand is that men are under an extreme amount of pressure.
Yes.
An external pressure, whether it's how can I say, physical or mental. We have to deal with it. When we leave the house, it's on, because we don't know what to expect.
Right.
We could drive down the street and get pulled over. That's always on our mind. When we see the police, it's always on our mind. Oh my God. Whether we say it or it's in our mind. When we go to our jobs, we have to deal with our white counterparts.
Okay.
Preferential treatment with them. We see things differently. We see how what they can get away with and what we can't, and how we have to internalize. We have to maintain a certain decorum so that we can compete. So yeah, bravery, yeah, that takes a lot of strength.
Yes.
It takes a lot of strength. And then when we come home, then we have to, deal with our families.
Right.
That's why a lot of times we don't want all the fluff we don't have time for. Because all day long we've been beaten.
Alex, go ahead.
Nah.
Beaten. So when we get home, we eliminate all of the fluff. What's the problem? What's the issue? Here's the solution. Okay, I'm going to bed now.
Okay.
I think
Uh-huh.
when I hear this conversation about men and emotions, or if men are emotional, I feel like it surrounds around like two emotions of the plethora of emotions that are out there. And it sounds like it's around frustration and maybe empathy. But I know that we've been on this call all day. We've all been laughing. we're all happy here. That's an emotion. Yeah, we might have fears. I'm sure that each one of us have been scared about going after a job or doing something. That's an emotion. So like I really think like the conversation we keep having about emotions is only around like more so the negative emotions that live out there. Like so I guess that's what I'm trying to better get like an understanding around. Maybe it
I
might
want you to tell me. I want you to tell me.
I think that for me, like when it comes to those more negative emotions, I think it's like we might put them down or compartmentalize them and
Right.
not necessarily let those hold as much weight. Like maybe that's what the youthful or the childish part of it. We might not address those emotions as much, but although they are serious emotions, we may more lean towards getting to the happier emotions quicker.
Right.
I
So
think that's what it is. Part of our mind is like solution oriented because we want to get to the good times.
Yes.
mhm.
I think that's
All right.
how yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Al.
I want to. This is what I want to know. Do black women, do they want us to be on the same emotional spectrum as them? Do they want their men to be like them? Because my whole thing, I do. In every relationship I've ever been in, there's been complaints about the way we emote towards each differently. Will black women really want men who emote like black women?
No, I don't think that women, black women, want men to be like them. I don't think so at all. But I do think that women in general want to know that the person that they're with or that they're talking to or married to can feel, can feel, can understand what is being said or how the feeling is being shared. They want to know, yeah, do you care? And
Is paying
sometimes
bills?
excuse me?
Yeah, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but is paying bills, is that like that's also a form of like expression as well? Making sure we have food, making sure. So
That's
I think we express ourselves in different ways.
I agree with you 100%. I do. And one of the person of someone who's listening said no. She agrees. We don't want men to be like us,
Right.
and I don't think you could be like us. But we do want you to be able to understand and to do that active listening that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, the active listening.
So with the active listening, are you? This is a question. Are you looking for a response?
Of course, of course.
Question is communication.
Loki is shaking his head. No. What do you mean? No, we don't want a response. Come on. What do you mean?
You don't want the right response, or you don't want the response that we have in our minds that will possibly, make you feel uncomfortable. I'll put it that way.
They don't want the truth.
Right. Thank you, brother. I didn't want to say that.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about that, but I want to hit on what Diamond just said first. Because Diamond, Diamond, I don't think you're 40 yet. I don't think you're 40 yet. But that response sounds like someone who's 50 and plus. Because paying bills is not an emotional response. That's a duty. That's an obligation. Okay, and that may demonstrate, but that is certainly not an emotion. That's an obligation, a responsibility.
Well, if your money's taking care of a person, I would assume that you're taking care of that person because you care.
Right.
You don't take care of people you don't care about.
You don't care at
I think
all.
that communication is definitely the big
This is tough because I agree with Diamond because it is an emotion.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you don't see it as it's like this. If I take you out to eat and I pay for the dinner and everything, I consider that an emotion. But if I pay for your bills,
I disagree. I disagree. I don't
Come on, Drake.
think that constitutes as an emotion.
It's
Not
not
an
an
emotion,
emotion.
but it's
not-
an
It's
emotional
not an emotion to do something.
for someone.
No, that's not an emotion.
But when
That-
people say
What is
action,
Doing for
If it's
someone.
not an emotion, you said it was a duty.
No,
but
Right, when you pay a bill, it's a responsibility.
but let's
No.
Yeah, but
can I
you're
step in
doing
real
it for
quick?
But you're
Go ahead,
looking for a
Alex. Go ahead.
response.
See, there's a way to do it as well.
Nah,
It's going to be a direct emotion. But let me tell you this: let those lights go off.
Oh, God.
Emotion.
God,
Oh,
emotions
God.
I'm gonna speak to both sides a little bit. I see what you're saying, Drake. I totally understand that. It's like half the time you're paying something or putting it's out of love. And one thing I hear people always say, "Yo, actions speak louder than words."
Love is
So,
an
like,
action.
if we talking about actions and we talking about taking actions, it's like, how do you show love to somebody through your actions? I could say whatever I want to you, but if I'm out there doing something that contradicts those actions,
That's what's real.
Absolutely.
I won't say it just stops at paying bills. That's not just the only action you can take. But I will say that there's a plethora of things like paying and choosing to support somebody or choosing to do that. That is still an action. It can be a duty. You can see however you want, but those are one of the actions you take. I won't say that just because you pay somebody's bills that you love them and you
No.
just do that, because that can exist without love. Maybe money's not that important to you. Maybe you rich, you good, you got it like that, and you can put you don't care
Right.
about
So
anything
I
else.
agree, but let those things not be done.
I feel
And
that.
there'll be an emotion.
I feel
Oh, come on now.
that, but I'm
vice
just
versa.
Exactly.
Vice versa.
Listen.
But vice
Hey, man,
versa.
most
A
divorces
guy can
end up
provide.
for the
A
money.
guy can provide all that, right? And they can come home provide luxury even. But if they don't show emotion, if the emotional link is gone, things will dry up. So it's not the same thing.
But that's why I hear what you're saying, but I believe with that, that's why things aren't important when we're talking about emotion. Okay? All of those things, and it goes back to duty. I believe that it's a duty, but there's always an emotion behind it. Like I said, let those things not be done. There's going to be anger.
It's not going to be anger on your part. It's not going to be anger on
that's
your
not-
part. It's going to be anger on the other
That's-
person's
But-
part.
But
I'm talking about your emotions. Your
Rhonda,
not
what,
your
Rhonda, what
emotions.
what I think I'm hearing is, you know, for a man to be able to provide and to pay bills, you know, it's the emotion of achievement and accomplishment. I think Rodney had mentioned so often about, you know, the African American man, what they are confronted with in the day-to-day, you know, arena. But to be able to do that is certainly a sense of pride, accomplishment, achievement. That you're going against the stereotypes that so many men are not doing those things.
Yeah.
So I think there is an emotion of achievement as opposed to even duty, that something is being done, and if it brings internal joy in a relationship, I think that is what gets projected.
And I think that we're probably, and I agree. Thanks, Phil, for that commentary, because it's needed. But I also believe that with that, I believe our emotion may not be your typical emotion
Right.
from on our counterpart side. When you're talking about emotion, you know, you guys, you know, tears and
Happiness.
and all of that. We, like I said before, I think we compartmentalize a lot of our emotion in our duty. And as we said, out of that, we get the fulfillment. Okay, I've achieved this. I provided for my family. I've kept the lights on. I've done all of these things. I've taken you out to dinner. I've fed you, you know. And then that is our emotion. That's how we express an expression of our emotion instead of I guess a direct, you know, oh, well, you know, you're not paying attention to me. Oh, you don't feel what I feel. I do feel what you feel. I hurt just like you hurt. But the way that we handle it is totally different because we know there's something else coming. And if we're not prepared for that second wave, we'll be taken out.
Okay.
It's interesting with this conversation, as we're talking about, emotions and everything, we're really kind of circling one thing, and that's leadership, right? In terms of you have to know when to cut your emotions off and to move forward. And I think any woman dealing with a man, that's something that she's going to want. You got to, even if she's in her emotions, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Let's move forward from it. What can we do to fix it? And I think leadership with all men, that's where our mind is in terms of not showing weakness. It's not necessarily showing weakness. It's just making sure that we stay in that leadership role and we're still viewed as the leader within our households.
Yeah, I think to kind of take what you said further, Diamond, I think that emotional intelligence is not doing away with our emotions, but choosing the right thing to do with our emotions, choosing the right response. So if I had a rough day, when I come home, it's not good for me to hide my emotions and internalize them. That's not healthy. I think that men, and part of it is stereotypes, but I think men do get labeled as brutes who are really bad with emotion, is because emotion, as you guys said earlier, it gets a bad rap because it's not just the negative or the sad, it's also the happy. But so if I had a bad day when I come home, I'm not going to hide my emotions, but I think the intelligence part comes in is that I know that, okay, I'm going to deal with it, but I'm going to deal with it appropriately, and that's what I think men struggle with the most. And not to go on too long, but also I think that's a big problem with guns right now. A lot of shootings happen with a lot of young men who haven't learned how to deal with their emotions. So they lack emotional intelligence. And I think that comes across as, you know what? I'm angry, I'm upset, I have a gun. So the first thing, that happens is that I'm going to react to my anger.
Right.
And so I think that's the big key, is that not to hide it or not to put it away, but how do we deal with it?
And Drake, that's the issue in itself. I think I can only speak for as being a black man. That's something that we don't teach kids growing up, is how to not be ashamed of their emotions, but how to use their emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So if you come home and you're angry, right, had a long day at work, you're stressed out, go take out that stress in the gym, go draw, go paint. You're still experiencing that emotion, but you're using it positively.
That's right.
So I think that's something that and in the black community and maybe even other communities, well, all communities, that's something that needs to be taught to young men and women as they grow and mature.
I love that. I love it because, I think that not only do people get angry and commit violent acts, but internalizing those emotions can affect us physically.
Yeah, well,
Keeping it all in can affect us. So at some point, we've got to be able to express. And I'm honing on it only because, as you all have said, I haven't said it, but you all have said that in the Black community, it's an issue. And there are stereotypes that peg us, that keep us in a cycle. And if we don't break the cycle, it will continue to go on and on. And it has to be broken, because if it doesn't, then we'll have a whole community that is unable to express themselves in a healthy and in a positive way. And so so being able to say just this: I am not feeling good today. I had a bad day. Can you give me 10 minutes?
That's an argument.
Well, no, because let me say this. The reason it's an argument is because you are doing something that you have never done before. And then we're going to go back to the communicating, because I think that men, and we've been talking about it all night, have problems with the communicating because you see things black and white. Aldrich,
this.
tell me.
But can I say,
And
Go ahead.
I hear,
this?
Go ahead.
go ahead.
What I wanted to say was this: a lot of times, as we don't have listeners,
Yes.
we absorb a lot from everyone else, whether it be pain, whether it be joy, anything. We absorb all of that. But when it's time for us to release, we don't have. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody on here, but some of us don't have that listener, that understander, that person that we can confide in, and say, okay, well, I got something that's on my mind. It may take me 10 minutes. It may take me 45 minutes to get it off my chest. Can you hear me? Women have that, but we don't have it.
Yeah,
I don't think men
women
communicate with
I
demand it.
really, I
Could
do
you
want to.
imagine? Could you imagine men expressing what's really going on with them? Could you
Mhm.
imagine that?
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. To Alex.
Yeah, I don't know. It popped in my head earlier when we were talking about sometimes when a woman comes and expresses herself and you don't know how to be that active listener. And on the flip side, I also feel that happens as men, like Luke was saying, sometimes you don't have the active listener. And like Diamond talked about one way to go about that, which is with physical health and actually going to the gym. But one thing is that's very taboo is also therapy. Because one thing that we need to realistically look at, some people may just not be equipped to provide you that emotional support. And you can't always look at your partner as that one place to go
Absolutely.
to that. Sometimes you got a homie that's just really good at listening to you and like allowing you get that out, or it's a coworker, or it's like so sometimes you gotta also look at where people's strengths are, where they might not have, and that I think causes a strain because sometimes you might look at your partner like they supposed to be everything, and we're not perfect. Fact of the matter is nobody's perfect. You can only be better than you were the day before, but that's also something that we got to think about. Like maybe go to a professional who's trained to listen and is okay. You paying them dollars, whatever it may be, but they're there to listen. They're there to wait for you. If you got 10 minutes, it's going to take you 10 minutes to get it out. They're
So,
trained so that's also a thought in that aspect.
I got you.
I mean,
That's a good
I
thought.
agree with that to a certain extent.
Okay.
If I'm coming home to my wife and I got problems and I got issues or something to talk about, and she can't listen to me, then my time spent will be elsewhere, not home. I need to come home to drop whatever dung or whatever I got there, so I don't have to bring it back outside. I need to just, because all the stuff that I'm bringing
Mm-hmm.
is coming from outside. I need to find somewhere to deposit it. Not saying that I need to give her a negative vibe or a negative spirit towards me or anything that's surrounding me, but I just need to have something close to me to listen. If we don't have that, I mean, we go to a shrink and talk to them all day, and they won't respond. They won't give you a solution. They won't give. They just okay, yeah, and they'll write down. Okay, we'll see you next Tuesday. Now that's costing. I mean, not saying that we shouldn't try it or we shouldn't do it, but there's sometimes that we don't want to waste the time when we got stuff on our mind.
Right.
I want to vent. I want you to understand me, so that when you come at me wrong, or why you even do this, why you didn't do that, well, because I had this on my mind, or I had that to do, or this and that. A lot of obligations. But when we don't, I guess we don't have that personal listener or that person to encourage us to keep moving, or yeah, we just gotta have that. That's me. I just gotta have it.
And I hear what you're saying because it's true. Because when we do it, what's wrong with you? You have
Right.
a problem?
Right.
What do you
Well,
mean?
we're
I'm
supposed to be.
I'm
We're
trying to
supposed to
get this off of my chest, but you're not hearing me. You're not understanding, what I'm going through right now. And it's very difficult for me. You know, and we can't necessarily, you know, we can't tell you, and we know that we can't tell you what happened because it's what's not said. Okay, it's what's not said, and those forces, as I was saying before, they're bearing down on us every day. Every day we're dealing with it.
Yeah, and
On the outside, and that's why when we come home, sometimes we don't even say anything. We just need that 10 minutes, that half hour, just to sit down and
gather ourselves.
gather, just get it all, and you know, just like, okay, let's breathe now.
Right.
Me, I love coming home.
I have something.
Yes.
Me, I feel as though like what Luke is saying, I agree with, but also feel as though like, and as a man, with I got 4 kids and my wife, I feel as though that I lose time to be able to deal, like say, to be able to have conversations with other friends or dudes or stuff in my life, because I tend to be an in-face person. When I think like women, they get to get a lot of stuff off their chest because they talk on the phone all day. You know what I mean? Like if by the time my wife came to me with a problem, she probably talked to 2 people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not like, I think most men are not like, I'm gonna just call and just vent to a person over the phone. I think we more like being in front. And I think in front of a person, when you have kids and family, you tend to have to be home more than you're able to go out into the world. And I think that's like, that does us disservice because we vent differently.
It's true.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's deep.
I agree.
That's real deep. So, you know, I'm not a therapist at all, but I'm listening to you guys and I'm saying it's got to change. Something's got to change. The communication on both parts. And, you know, the past, tradition, expectations, they're like, they've got us.
Yes.
And in order for us to break that, we've got to start doing something different. Because if you don't do something different, it's going to continue. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Right.
No, you're absolutely
Something
right. And it
has
goes back,
Go ahead.
it goes back to your initial question. You know, the God in us. You know, we have to take that literal. You know, what is it? What is our mission at this very moment?
Right.
You know, and we have to, you know, all of the tradition, as you were saying, all of those things, you know, it's not working.
It's not working. And the reason it's not working is because what's been instilled, what we've seen from our parents or their parents or you know, society is what's framed the way we conduct our lives.
Absolutely.
And at some point, you got to change what you think and how you think. Because if it doesn't happen here, it's not going to happen outside. And it's not just men, because if you're in a relationship with someone and you've got to work together, work hard. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of women that I talk to, they say that the problem is that men can't seem to understand that it takes work. It takes hard work to make it work. They just want it to happen like that. They want to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. It doesn't work like that. It's got to, and that whole paradigm that we're accustomed to has got to change for things to get better. And the emotional intelligence, that's got to start working. Right. So I'm looking at my millennials, and I'm saying to you, if you guys can do it, you know, you can definitely do it. If you want to. It's just like Dami, you go to the gym. You go and you tell the people who you coach that they can do it. Same thing with you. You can do it, but you've got to work together. If you don't work together, it's not going to happen. And sometimes the partner you got to drag them along. And sometimes it's hard, but you've got to change.
Absolutely.
You have to. And listen, I'm coming to you as a woman who has been married, I'm coming to you and I'm saying that everything that you have said about women is true. So when I asked you about the God in you, what I'm saying is that if you are the leader and you profess to be this, that, and the other, then you've got to be emotionally intelligent enough to not just say, well, I'm going to throw my hands up, but to say, listen, let's get this done. Let's do it. Let's change it, because we're changing it for our children and their children.
Yes.
It's serious stuff.
It's very serious. It's very
You know,
serious.
so our minds have got to change. And as the leader, as the man, you know, I'm not saying that you do it all, but you got to lead the charge and break the cycle. Yes. Okay. So I'm so happy that you guys have joined me tonight. I hope it was a good discussion. I hope we've kind of learned from one another. And is there anything that you'd like to say before we end the discussion?
I just want to thank everybody, for talking, and I definitely gain some insight, and I'm going to be reflecting on myself and my emotions and how I handle my emotions more.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drake. Thanks for all of your contributions. Anyone else? All right. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, fellas.
Peace out.
Ronnie?
Yeah.
Ronnie?
Yeah, I'm here.
It's a tough topic you got. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because, at the end of the day, is what you said. I mean, it takes two.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in a relationship and nobody in the person doesn't want to change.
I know. It's not easy. And I keep, I see it, Rodney. And, you and I have talked. And sometimes, like even now, brings me to tears. Because, this is what God created. He created this family, this unit. And, we know spiritually that, sin, and a lot of other stuff, right? But it is so, sometimes I think it shouldn't be this hard. But
I say it all the time. I say it's not, and it goes back to what we were saying, about men. We see what the problem is. Let's fix it. All of the other stuff, and that's what fluff is. That's what I was consider. It's all of that other stuff. Well, this, why is this? How come this? And you didn't do. Wait a minute. This is what the issue is. This is what the problem is. Let's fix it and forget all of that, because that is a waste of time. If we're not going to solve the problem, then we're going to continue the cycle. And that's what men see. We see the cycle continuing. Just talking about it is not solving the problem.
right.
It's exposing what we already know.
Right. And so how do you move from talking to action? But
you have to come out of your emotional intelligence. Okay. Not saying that we're not empathizing, or feeling what you're feeling about what's happening. Yeah, we see all of the pressures in life. The same pressures you have, we have them too. Right? And it's nothing different. It's how you handle it and how you see the problem and see the solution to the problem. And if I say, for instance, if I'm talking to you and I'm saying to you that there's an issue, okay, that I have with whatever it is that you may have done, and you're trying to defend that and not even considering, that how it's affecting me, and that's a problem, right? So wait a minute, I'm not perfect, But we're not talking about me right now. If you have an issue or a problem with me, talk to me about what that is. Let me hear how you see me. I'm not trying to, if I love you, right? And I see something that's going to make you better, then I'm going to express that. I'm not trying to beat on you. I'm not trying to destroy you, tear you down, make you belittle you. It's me and you talking. I'm not trying. If you feel that little of me, think that small of me, that I have to beat you down because there's an issue, something that you're doing that's bothering me and affecting the relationship from us moving forward, then we're never going to move.
You're preaching to the choir. I get you. And that comes from one's past, one's upbringing, one's trauma, what happened in childhood. It's that it has trained the way you see yourself, and then how you see others that see you. That's it. It's in a nutshell. And until you see that how you were raised, or how that trauma or whatever, until you see that, you are never going to change. You can't.
You can't. It's impossible.
And so it's impossible
because you're afraid.
But see, you talk about the spirit, but see, I mean, I'm all for the spirit, but the spirit doesn't have, it should, but the spirit doesn't have control.
You have will still. Yes, your will has a very big part.
And if you don't,
and if you grieve the spirit, if you're grieving the spirit is telling you, look, and it's all in line with the scriptures, right? Bible says to love, right? Forgive, right? All of those things, the Beatitudes, right? Bless that person that despitefully uses you. All of it. He's telling you to move on. Empower that person, okay, by the love. Pour hot coals on their head and let them know, look, we got to move.